Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kanja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kanja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Shri Radha Madhava Jai Shri Prabhupada. I can go for a long time with Kirtan, but I would actually like to also speak. So I will make it short and then now we can get our topic into place. So let me just let you know what I've picked for reading today. I know that normally on the Sunday feast we read Bhagavad Gita, which we will, but I also was inspired to share or start with this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which I'm reading. So it's chapter 1, canto 1, called Creation, and I'm reading from chapter 3, verse 34. Yadyaisha parata devi maya vaisharadimati sampanaviti vidur mahimnisve mahiyate. The translation is, if the illusory energy subsides and the living entity becomes fully enriched with knowledge, with the grace of the Lord, then he becomes at once enlightened with self-realization and thus becomes situated in his own glory. Prabhupada's purport: because the Lord is the absolute transcendence, all of his forms, names, pastimes, attributes, associates, and energies are identical with him. His transcendental energy acts according to his omnipotency. This same energy acts as his eternal, internal, and marginal energies, and by his own omnipotency, he can perform anything and everything through the agency of any of the above energies. He can turn the external energy into internal by his will. Therefore, by his grace, the external energy, which is employed in illusioning those living beings who want to have it, interesting point, subsides by the will of the Lord in terms of repentance and penance for the conditioned soul. And the very same energy then acts to help the purified living being make progress on the path of self-realization. The example of electrical energy is very appropriate in this connection. Prabhupada is expert at giving good examples for us to understand the meaning of the Vedas, and I am very grateful for that. The expert electrician can utilize the electrical energy for both heating and cooling by adjustment only. Similarly, the external energy, which now bewilders the living being into continuation of birth and death, is turned into internal potency by the will of the Lord to lead the living being to the eternal life. When a living being is thus graced by the Lord, he is placed in his proper constitutional position to enjoy eternal spiritual life. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyanandanashalakaya Chakshuramitamina Taisma Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Oh, I miss so much when devotees loudly chant together in the temple Hare Krishna mantra in the beginning of the class, but I guess I have to imagine all of that right now and eagerly wait for the moment where I can do it again.
Few moments.
Yes, hopefully. You're very optimistic, Prabhu. Yes, but what am I trying to speak on today? I picked that name for the topic because it's very flexible, and I wanted to see where it will lead us, because every community has certain needs and struggles, certain types of inspiration. So I thought that it will be more of an improvised class to see what is needed to be heard. So I'm trying to hear my Paramatma and this way share an inspiration. We know that it's an easy time for a lot of people, and unfortunately for devotees too, because we are face to face to the things that we need to work on in life, with difficulties that maybe have been hidden and covered up. And we were easily distracted by a lot of entertainment and activities externally. But statistics show that right now people just struggle so much with their morale and their physique and their mental health, their motivation, finding meaning of life. All these things became harder for some, maybe for some better, who took advantage of that crisis. But for a lot of people, it's been challenging, especially without active social life. And what can astonish us sometimes is that for Vaishnavas as well, it's not a secret that there were a lot of suicides lately happening around the world in ISKCON, including our community, unfortunately, in Gita Nagari. About actually exactly 1 month ago, on January 14th, one devotee, he took his life. And if you know, our community in Gita Nagari is very famous for being very personal and having a lot of senior devotees, disciples of Bhakti, Tirtha Swami, who emphasize personal relationship and encouragement and just love and that care, you know, that family feeling, just like Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was. So it was especially shocking to see and have this cognitive dissonance where you think it's supposed to be that way and supposed to work, all these principles, and yet, you know, some people just suffer so much that they prefer to not have this life anymore and decide to end it. Feel hopeless and helpless. So it was very disturbing and very traumatic for a lot of people, for the devotees, for the community, for probably for the world of devotees, the international community as well, those who knew what happened. And also it happened in Vrindavan, it happened in Russia. I know it happened in Florida recently. So, of course, because I have certain background in psychology, I was trying to question it from both sides, from the spiritual side and also from psychological side. What is it that's happening? What is it that we're lacking? What is it that we need as devotees? What are the urgent things we have to adapt and accept in our life to meet those crises in the best way? Of course, there's other things about suicide, and I hope that's obvious, that sometimes no matter what you do, no matter how much you reach out, no matter how much you read and chant certain things, that's just going to happen. There's karma, but also there's serious physical things there. So we will accept that as granted and just now think of what can we do as devotees with our life to not go down and feel doubtful or weak in our spiritual life. And so something that came up to my mind is that we need to make every statement, every verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, of Bhagavad Gita, that we take shelter of, hopefully all of us read and find inspiration there. We need to make every verse relevant to our life. And I think sometimes it's difficult for devotees. If there is not yet acquired taste for hearing and chanting, for hearing particularly, we can feel that it's like a parallel world, we're reading those things about those high standards of bhakti, those amazing devotees like Prahlad Maharaj and others who are glorified in Srimad Bhagavatam because of their devotion, their principles, their how they face challenges and go through. And then we have our life where maybe we just think like, yeah, there's pure devotees and things like that. And even Prabhupada was a pure devotee, but what I'm going through is different. Or, it's just, I can't think of just reading books. I gotta solve real problems. Sometimes it's the mood that we experience that it's just difficult to deal with life. Things come and come and come all the time, and can become like an avalanche of different responsibilities and pressures from our own expectations, from the society, sometimes from community of devotees too. Everybody expects you to be, always in good standing. So it's hard to share your struggles often even with friends. We need to keep up certain standards. So it builds up. And I've realized that probably by my own experience as well, and by hearing from senior Vaishnavas, of course, by reading, I realized that the more you make Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures relevant to your life in all circumstances, the better you get out of those things, the better you go through them. And actually you don't get to experience that like real painful suffering that a lot of people go through. A lot of people identify with them. A lot of people even cannot imagine their life without it. It's like part of their personality, there's challenges, there these crises and problems, and yeah. So you need to make it really juicy and tasty for yourself, the scriptures, the verses, the stories, the purports of Prabhupada. And it takes some practice, of course. It takes certain patience, because very common example that Srila Prabhupada gives, we all are inflicted with jaundice, and therefore things like that, things in the mode of goodness, as an especially transcendental thing, sometimes seems bitter and tasteless, maybe for a while, but gradually taste and attraction for hearing awakens and life transforms. So one example of how we can make, I have many, but I will start with one which seems sometimes irrelevant, sort of, is that a lot of descriptions especially in first 9 cantos, and of course in 11 and the 12th canto of Bhagavatam and in Bhagavad Gita, is about the opulence of the Lord. Parasya Shakti Vividhaiva Shrute, all his energies, all his different potencies, Maya Dekshana Prakritisya Tasacharacharam, and all this material world is moving into my direction. And then we have descriptions of universal form, and just so much time is and space in Bhagavatam is given to description of Brahman and the creation of the universe and all that stuff about potency of the Lord. So I don't know, maybe for some devotees it is directly just inspiring them and giving them more devotion and strength. And I hope so. It should. We should feel very fortunate that we will get to know God in such detail and know the mechanics of this world, and know that ultimately he is the master of this world, and that we are trying to be his friend and devotee, very confidential, close friends of him and servants. So that should be encouraging and inspiring. But also, what else does it do to you when you read those verses, when you read those chapters of Bhagavatam about the opulence and potency of the Lord? What is it that you get from it? It's a little question right now for you, for some devotees. So please unmute yourself and share if you have some resonance, some response to that. I would love to hear from you, and then we will continue our discussion. So my question is, what kind of feeling and personal realization, or even a call to action you have when you read about the greatness of the Lord and the creation? That's my question. Anybody, please. I don't know if you usually do that when I give Yes, please.
No, I know most of the times the questions and the comments will come at the end. So it's yeah. But I think Humberto Prabhu, you were trying to speak something.
Yes, I see someone. I'd love to hear you, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Mataji. I've been on this path for almost a year, so it is inspiring. When I read about the greatness of the Lord, it gives me hope.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me an understanding that there is a purpose and meaning to my life, and that there is more than this world, because this world is supposed to, based on what it has promised to give us that eternal happiness, and based on my own life and the life that I see from others, we get shortchanged. Things are supposed to last, things are supposed to be all of these great expectations, and then again, there is suffering and there is disappointments, and family and people die. But understanding about the greatness of the Lord is that there is so much more, that I don't have to be limited in this world, and that if I am going to be engaged in this journey, He will take me through this life and through the many lives. So I don't have to be perfect. I just need to be faithful. And that is my hope.
Wow. Thank you so much. I think next time you should give the class, because you have such wonderful, you have such wonderful realization, even after a relatively short time of practice. But it's definitely a great feeling to feel that there is more. I don't have to be limited by those conditions that are imposed upon me and inflicted on me sometimes by my karma or circumstances. And it is very, very inspiring. Thank you for sharing very much. Do you, Prabhus, would like to as well say something, or?
As Prabhu said, definitely the hope is the greatest thing that we can really get when we hear about the Lord and all the different pastimes that He has done. We are not limited. We are very limited with resources and everything. But looking at what He has done for other pure devotees, yeah, we are not pure, but we are in the right path. So I'm sure that someday He's going to take care of us. So we just need to keep working on it. And make your life happy. Ultimately we are looking for happiness. By hearing all the greatness of the Lord, we know that we will get that happiness for sure.
Thank you so much. I like your positive attitude. You mentioned words like hope and happiness, and it's very important. I will tell you something from professional training, that there's two things that make people actually give up their life, like, for example, commit suicide, is hopelessness and helplessness. When someone feels so strong that there's just no more hope, and also nobody can help me to feel happy again, to feel the meaning, to just deal with my life, that's where some people just decide, I just have to go. So it's very important that you mention those two things, hope and that, yes, there is happiness, there is a possibility, and the Lord is helping the devotees. So it's really nice, because relevant to all of us. We need to perform our devotional service joyfully with that attitude, with lofty goals and inspiration. Otherwise, it becomes difficult, and also it becomes difficult to give it to others. If you've noticed, people who struggle a lot are not usually, well, if you notice that people who are not inspired so much in their bhakti, they find it difficult to also share it, because you just feel like, what am I sharing? If I don't feel it myself, how can I convince some others to take up such a radical change in their life? So it's really important qualities, I think, to have. Paina Prabhu, would you like to also share anything? I think it's just three of us, so I'd love to hear you too, if you want. Otherwise, we will continue. I'll share my perspective as well. Let's see. No pressure.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, wonderful discussion, Mataji. So yeah, what I wanted to share is how we can see and get inspiration from others. That's something that I like to imply in my life. Things are sometimes difficult for our mind to process those thoughts, and then one of the easiest way is to not the easiest way, but if it's available by seeing other devotees, how they are going through. And one of the people or group of devotees, if I would take example of, are the book distributors. So when they go to book distributors, and you are also one of the book distributors, you know,
Sometimes.
what do we get mostly? The nose or a nose, right? Oh no, we don't want it. And how do we feel that time? You know, like we are not there really to make the money only, but we are here to give them Krishna, and they don't want Krishna, they reject Krishna. So I feel sometimes like, actually, I don't have Krishna, even have Krishna, how can I give them? So I need to work on my sadhana, on my practice as well, to give to others. But just by going out, you know, Bashika Prabhu said, you go just there to touch the pavement and come back. But still, you know, the realization that we should get is that, you know, I need to work more on our own efforts and means and approach, so that people may get somewhat attracted and take a book, and then once the book is with them, then Prabhupada takes care from there. But my job is to go out. So that's a difficult part sometimes to see in ourselves, myself. But when I see other book distributors going out with a nice smile and like wonderful people, so okay, wow, if you can do that, at least I can go and try and touch the pavement. That's all I can do. So I want to share that part. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. You jumped just to the conclusion of my talk today. Actually, we can even finish now because I thought to share in the end what is the most, and I will, what is the most inspiring part of Krishna consciousness for yourself and for others. That's why I named that class the ultimate self-interest. But we'll get there. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, book distribution is this whole special world of relationship with Krishna and with your spiritual master, and with this world, with other jivas, because you see amazing things, you see amazing transformations and reactions in yourself and in others while you're doing that. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well, because fortunately, because my husband, I do have good taste for book distribution. We try to do it, and surprisingly, we find that during pandemic, a lot more people take books. They might be afraid of the virus, and you have to wear gloves or something, but actually, we had so much more interest, and I was very happy. Sometimes it's a small town where we do books, but sometimes I'd say 1 in 5 persons take a book, actually. That's very high rate. If you've been in some big cities, like Los Angeles or Sydney, you stay there and you might offer 100 times before someone actually stops, talks to you, and maybe even get the book. It's like, wow, it's big difference. But in a smaller town, where people haven't seen many books and haven't seen devotees, they're very curious and they take happily. Very inspiring, but little later about that. So let me share also. Oh, you wanted to say something?
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, actually on Facebook, I'm trying, one Mataji texted, I have a comment, but I'm trying to see if she's going to post again. I don't see it, but if I get hear back from her, I'll let you know, Mataji.
Thank you very much. That's
we
really
have quite
nice.
a few people on Facebook, more than Zoom, that will be watching. So we are very active.
I'll try to stay serious and Krishna conscious and not disappoint everyone. Anyway, yes, thank you. Let me share as well what I've been lately meditating on while reading these descriptions of Lord's potency. In our community, Gita Nagari community, we've been reading Chaitanya Charitamrita every night, and I give weekly classes there as well. So all of my verses, every single time, they will come up about Brahman and just the effulgence of the Lord and all his different Shaktis, like things like that. And so I thought, okay, what does it give me? What does it do to me when I read it? What kind of emotion towards the Lord I have? And something that I really noticed lately is how I feel a lot of relief from my own false ego pressure. Because what happens when we really start suffering is that we identify so much with our body and our stuff and our family and the relationship we're in. And so it can just get you so much into that space that that you are in like this little wheel, like squirrel, just running, feeling the same things, getting the same frustration over and over again, and just getting so focused on your life, on those micro situations. And I don't think we should ignore it or just pretend that we are so transcendental and detached that relationships and our health or other issues should not be addressed. I don't think so. I think we should, of course, take it seriously. But sometimes in order to take it seriously, we need to be able to separate ourselves a little bit from those identifications. And there comes the philosophy. When you read those incredible descriptions of the universe, different levels of planets, and how many universes comes out from the pores of Mahavishnu, and then they come in, and then it happens again, how many years each yuga takes, how many years Brahma lives, like all this huge macrocosmic processes. When you hear about it, and if you hear about it, kind of like with an open mind and open heart, not just by habit. Okay, I've done that. I hear that. I've seen that before. When you hear it with a fresh interest, it really puts things into perspective in your own life. And for me, it was mainly that I stopped taking seriously my mind so much. I stopped taking seriously my false ego so much, especially in the situations where, you think there has to be some immediate justice and everyone needs to recognize that you're right. That's the only way, that's how usually conflicts arise among people. Everyone thinks that they're right in their position and, their perspective. But when we, for a moment, pause that process and start to meditate on the creation, on the path that the soul takes to eventually get to the Lord, because we also understand, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes in his writings in much detail how even this material world is ultimately still for our own benefit. It's a pastime of the Lord, and eventually it's meant for all of us to get back to the Lord. So when we start to think about it, our problems and immediate situations, they don't seem so bad. They don't seem so bad anymore. You can calm yourself down and maybe think, okay, I probably have been there. I probably have done it before. And then you say, dear mind, dear ego, who is so dear and so close to me, let's just try something else today. Let's just try something different now. Let's maybe, allow the other person to be right. Let's maybe try some humility exercise. Let's maybe just let it go. Tolerate just a little bit more. These things can happen. And it's a real miracle if someone can deal with themselves, with those internal, very deep-rooted issues, identifications in a mature way, in a way that devotees should, with positive qualities of the Vaishnava, applying this science and knowledge that we have. So for me, reading a lot about the Lord and his opulence and power and omnipotency and his different energies, and especially how in this purport in Bhagavatam, he's saying how, some message came, where he's saying how the Lord, the energy is the same energy, external and internal energy, and it can manifest differently to you if you take another path. If you take path of self-realization and surrender to the Lord, hearing and chanting, you can transform that Maya in your life into Yoga Maya. You can transform it so that all these things, the same things that happen to you, your karma might not change immediately. Everything that is prarabdha karma or manifested and grown and fructified might not change, but you still see it, you still kind of situated on the side of that internal potency. You become influenced by internal potency of the Lord if you choose, because for Krishna is very easy. It's all his energies, they all at his service. And so when devotee try to take that path and do things differently from millions and millions and millions of conditioned births and deaths, conditioned lives and bodies he had, then Krishna can do miracles to you. And so reading about that really helps me to take actions in my own behavior and transform myself faster, even with hardest, most habitual behavior and reactions and triggers that we have on people and situations, in our relationship with self-esteem, even things like that. I get to see my false ego sort of not as me, but from the side, at least for a moment. And there's a wonderful example that my spiritual master gives. he says Polsigo is like this huge, massive rock in some sort of studio of an architect or something, or carver. And you have these tools of self-realization, but it may be a little hammer, and to make something beautiful to offer to Krishna, it will take a while. But if you can see it, if you can deal with it, if you can finally confront it, you start to chip away piece by piece, little bit, and eventually from this ugly rock, ugly, scary, big rock in the room, something beautiful comes out. So I think that knowledge, transcendental knowledge about the Lord, gives us these tools to carve ourselves, to see things into perspective, to become mature much faster than any other pathways in this world. And so therefore, I again emphasize how we need to put effort into reading each verse and purport. Sanatana Goswami says that every syllable of Srimad Bhagavatam is filled with Krishna prema. I don't think I have full realization of that yet, but I'm trying to take it seriously and really relish each purport, each verse, not just skim through because it doesn't seem like there's any relevance into my life, but see, okay, how am I dealing with this information? How am I applying it in life? So that's one thing. If you have any comments or points at this time, please let me know. Any feedback? Yep.
Yes, one Mataji, Shyama Devi Dasi Mataji, thank you so much for posting on Facebook. She want to say, as part of Krishna creation, come the part of suffering and miserable. Most important is to be aware about our action and our behavior. Be aware to avoid offensing.
Well, I can see she's an experienced and practicing devotees, because devotees know that you're practically immune to anything in this world until you start creating offenses. You offend other Vaishnavas and the holy name, and then things get very complicated. So she's totally right. It is another wonderful conclusion that on that path, while containing enthusiasm, we also need to always stay careful and again, watch yourselves, because those who had experience with offenses definitely know that the taste goes away very, very quickly, and it just seems like nothing can help you if you create a certain offense, except for, of course, asking for forgiveness. And we can talk about more about offenses if you like. It's a serious topic, maybe time for a whole another discussion. But yes, nothing more serious than offending Vaishnava. Even the holy name and Lord can forgive you if you just incessantly chant. If you continue chanting, even offenses of the holy name, they go away like that. But to get rid of that offense of the Vaishnava, you really have to go to the Vaishnava and ask for forgiveness and make sure he forgives you. Of course, the qualification of Vaishnavas is that they are forgiving. So hopefully both of those things work out, and we are still progressive in our spiritual life. So thank you for that point, Mataji. I appreciate that you're sharing, even though you're on Facebook and not talking to us. Yes. So what else is there for us to get inspiration from? I think, and this is my particular taste in Krishna consciousness. I know all of us find certain strength and inspiration in different aspects of Krishna consciousness, just like we have 9 processes of bhakti, and we know great devotees who are perfect in their particular process. There's descriptions how I need to refresh that knowledge, but we know Prahlad Maharaj, he was perfect at remembering the Lord, and there is some who are perfect at chanting glories, perfect at worshiping. So there's many ways we can find strength. But since we are all followers of Lord Chaitanya and Rupa Goswami, we must, we don't have to, but we probably should take his advice, Lord Chaitanya's advice, very, very seriously. Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Goro Krishna Shiksha. that you chant Krishna, you hear about Krishna, but also you teach others about Krishna. And that's how you get the best out of all the practice. That's how you get that extra strength dose of love for Krishna, of enthusiasm, of strength, of inspiration, of resilience in this world, that you teach others about Krishna. And so Sankirtana is really something special. And some of you might say like this, okay, well, what do we do? Pandemic, COVID, we're not allowed to do anything but the Zoom meetings. How do we just get there? But Sankirtana is not just one thing, you know, standing on the street only and distributing books, or just, I don't know, just doing Kirtan. Of course, those are one of the best ones, the best ways. If you can share the holy name with someone, they get immediate benefit, even if they don't want it or don't like it. Such is the power of the holy name. Or if you can manage to give someone Prabhupada's books, they are on the way. That means Krishna already gave them the mercy to see a devotee, to get a book, and maybe one day open it. That happened to me. My family was not into Krishna consciousness or anything, any kind of religion. They grew up in communist Soviet Union time, and so talking about God was very unusual and strange and kind of funny in the family. And yet some devotee gave my mother Bhagavad Gita in India, in Russian. That is very interesting, how Krishna can find his way to your heart. You know, he just chose that she would get the books. She had no idea what they're about. She was a journalist and on certain mission to write about India and the culture and, you know, write it in a newspaper. But some devotees there just gave her a book, happened to be there on the streets of Delhi in Russian, meet the Russian person, and gave her the books. And so I read those books. Actually, they came to me. And that's how I was introduced to Krishna consciousness pretty early in life, which I'm very grateful to. I don't know who this book distributor was, but yes, it works wonderfully as well. But there's other ways. There's so many ways. And we need to know that simply if we just talk to someone about something we sincerely excited, happy, and inspired in Krishna consciousness, they will feel it. They will get that bhakti sooner or later. Because people looking for happiness, no matter who you are, if you're a devotee, you're not devotee, you're a demon, whoever you identify with, even animal species, everybody's just looking for happiness because it's a natural condition of the soul to experience the pleasure, although we are looking in the wrong places. And yet that's the search. That's why everything's happening in this world. So if you're able to impart on someone that the piece of your happiness from spiritual practice that you have, it will intrigue them. It will catch them. It will be like a little bite, you know, for the fish or whatever else ahimsa example you can give. It will keep them thinking, why is this person so happy? What's wrong with them? What's up? What do they have that I don't have? What do they know that I don't know? And it doesn't mean that you need to know all the shastras and quote all the verses, which is actually really nice and wonderful and important. But if you're not there yet, then you can talk about prasadam. All devotees love prasadam. Or you can talk about kirtan. You just think for a moment, what is it that inspires you? Or is it this special sweet relationships with the Vaishnavas that you maybe not experienced anywhere else and even in your family? Or is it this, you know, incredible teachers that we have who have such qualities and such kind souls and so much wisdom and such behavior? Is it that what you inspire? Just think about it. What is it that really, really catches you in Krishna consciousness? I think everybody will find something special. And my experience is that if you just able to connect with someone and talk about this little thing, but with taste, with flavor, with genuine emotion and genuine gratitude to Krishna for that experience, for that part of your life, people really, really react. They want happiness. And when they see genuine happiness, they just can't resist. They either go away and, you know, kind of come back later maybe, or they just start asking you, so what do you have? What do you got there? Where did you get it? How can I meet the person? How can I try this prasadam thing you're talking about? And then it's easy. When someone is ready to make a first step and try something, try Krishna in one way or other, then your Sankirtan is successful. You know, you made them, you gave them the way, you already became a guru who shows the path. You know, where there's 3 types of gurus. So just giving someone that little taste, that first step, is already being a guru. It's already doing great Sankirtana. That's why the most, what is that verse in 12th canto? Yeah, guys, Sankirtana Prayajanti Sumedasa. Sumedasa means most intelligent persons. So the smartest ones, they really engage in Sankirtana. And even if you are not a professional book distributor or a speaker or whatever it is that we like and aspire for and adore in other devotees, we all can do that. We all can do it. If our practice is joyful, if our practice is real and sincere, and we feel that our life is transforming, we always able to share it with one way or other. And Krishna, because he's so happy when his devotees do that, in the end of 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says, no one is more dear to me than those who share this message, confidential knowledge about me, to others. You know, that's the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita as well. He tells it to Arjuna. Krishna appreciates it so much that he definitely gives you more empowerment. He gives you more knowledge. He reciprocates in the heart. You start to feel stronger yourself. And eventually you are affecting people's heart more and more. First, it may be your little circle with a couple of people around you, maybe your best friends or someone, maybe family, if you're really lucky. It doesn't happen so often, but sometimes we can also inspire our own family, right? Or then a lot of people will look up to you and think, wow, such a special person, so happy. What's up with them? I want to hear, I want to be around. And that law of attraction really starts to work. You start to share, and therefore you benefit, because then suddenly your friends become more spiritual. And then your friends start to practice Krishna consciousness. Your circle changes. How great Sankirtana is. It's a win-win situation. And therefore, I call that class the ultimate self-interest. Oops, my chat was trying a bit. Even though it seems like we're doing it all for Krishna, actually, we're doing a favor for ourselves, such a big favor, because all of our things are taken care of. And those of you who have experience with that will definitely confirm that's how it works, that we give a little bit something, but then we get so much more. We receive a lot more, and then therefore we want to give more, and then we receive even more. Bhakti Tirtha Swami would always say in the beginning of his seminars, he would say that, thank you so much. I'm very grateful that, you know, we're all here. He would do a lot of different in-depth and intense seminars like this to devotees. I would hear it in the recordings. And then he would say that, actually, I'm most grateful because I also get the benefit the most. When I was preparing for you to hear me, I had to really, you know, get through all of that. I benefited as a teacher because I had to practice it. I had to understand it. And so when you start preaching, when you start talking and sharing Krishna consciousness, then you suddenly becomes a big deal. It becomes real serious. You start to read carefully and process everything in a way that you can give it to others, which means it has to be really clear to you. And because you're mostly going to talk about chanting holy name, Hare Krishna, that means your chanting is probably going to get more serious. Because it doesn't feel very nice if you are preaching about, you know, Harinam and Harinama Eva Kevalam, but at the same time, you can barely finish japa or you have no taste whatsoever in kirtan. So we have to like step up the game and do it all ourselves before we can share. Hopefully we are like that, you know, devotees pretty sincere. And so usually we don't want to be duplicitous because it doesn't really work. If you don't have that practice, then it's hard to share. So some other things, everything just goes up like that when we engage into Sankirtana. Therefore, I my strongest conclusion, I guess, is that to be immune to those crises and difficulties that the world goes through, and to be helpful to other souls, and to please Krishna, and to remain happy, we really need to start sharing. Sharing is caring. We need to think how we can fill the world with a little bit more joy, with a little bit more wisdom and kindness. And most importantly, love for Krishna, because it follows quickly after. So yes, that's my take on everything, that if you want to be always happy, sounds a little bit utopian, but you know that verse in Bhagavad Gita, there is no happiness without sacrifice, neither in this life nor in the next. So that kind of sacrifice, Sankirtana Yagya, it's a really best deal for the soul. It really serves you the most, and at the same time satisfies all other souls, because the Lord is in every other living entity in their bodies, and you directly please Krishna. He opens up to you. He expands your relationship, and you get a lot more realization and glimpse into who am I, and what can I do for him, and I want to do that. All sorts of things come up simply because we want to share. And if we don't want to share yet, or we don't know how, what's the desire we should have? Then we should just want to want. If we maybe don't feel enthusiasm yet, then we need to pray to Krishna. Dear Lord, I just want to serve you. Maybe I don't want right now. Maybe I don't feel it. Or maybe I don't see the opportunities. Maybe I feel so low. But when we start praying like that, he always, always, always reciprocates and replies. Yes. So I don't know how much time. Oh, 12:20. That means we have about 10 minutes. You probably run class for an hour or so. So if any of you would like to say something as well on that point, share your success in inspiring other people or yourself like that, some sweet stories, that would be really nice to hear. Or if you have any questions or comments or disagreement, I'm very happy to hear it all. So let's please spend a few minutes doing that.
Thank you so much, Mataji. It was a really wonderful, very simple and very strong message that you were able to pass on with your class today. Audience on the Zoom, please do unmute yourself if you have a comment or a question or any realization you would like to share.
Krishna,
Okay.
Anandini, Mataji, wonderful class. And you really brought the real highlight of this topic, the ultimate self-interest. And I was thinking about, what is our own self-interest? And I really can resonate well with the conclusion, the ultimate conclusion also of your class about involving in Sankirtan. Mataji, are you there?
Yes, I'm hearing
Okay.
very well.
Sure, yeah. No. Okay, so now the ultimate conclusion that you also put forth about the Sankirtan. And like when we go on Sankirtan, like, these books are Prabhupada's books, not my books or your books, Prabhupada's books. So we especially are representing Prabhupada out there. But when we are giving the book and the person taking the book, they are not only us, and we are made as the connection or as the representative to that person. And everything that you also mentioned about our own sadhana, if you're only good with kirtan but nothing else, nothing other than that. So all this thing has to be in place then, because the person knows us and gets the book through us and the knowledge, and then later on they will escalate to the level of the parampara level. So I was really wonderful, happy to hear this wonderful point that you had made about how important is to think it is my self-interest, not to think I'm just doing, my guru told me I'll do it, or my temple person told me I'll do it, or someone told me I'll do it, but to cultivate the thought in mind. So I was really fascinated the way you brought this topic out and presented it. And please don't be shocked or surprised if we reach out to you to give more classes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, I'm also that kind of person who maybe struggles sometimes to do something if there's absolutely no benefit for myself. Maybe it's not a very good quality for Vaishnavas, but I have to see somehow that, it's going to inspire me. There has to be something that excites me. And so it's true that when we are joyful, people take it easier, especially on Sankirtana. It doesn't always work like that, but sometimes there's no logic why people can just take books, and then for the next hour maybe everybody ignores you if you have something strange and stupid written on your forehead. That happens too, no matter how happy you're trying to look. But generally my experience is that yes, we are, although we're giving books of Prabhupada, we're giving Krishna and Prabhupada, people buying us on the streets when you do Sankirtana. That's the only thing you see. And you know, higher chances is if you look like Vaisheshik Prabhu and say hi, then, you know, there's higher chances that people will feel, okay, that's something worthy because the person looked decent. And I'm not just talking about your, you know, your outfit or something, but our friendliness, our openness, our smile, our spark in the eyes, that affects a lot of people. And so we should try to perform our services in a joyful mood, or just somehow or other perform them. But if you can do it happy, then yay, you know, 5 more points.
Yes, thank you so much. And you're doing this wonderful service with the family. And just for the audience, you know, most of you may know, if you don't know, Mataji is a wonderful bead bag maker, Chapa bead bag maker. Wonderful.
Oh, nice.
And if
I didn't pay for advertisement.
yeah, but don't worry, I'm doing that for you. If anyone wants
Thank
to
you.
improve their japa, they can buy beadbacks from Mataji. So
Thank
that's doing, and so it's really, you know, it's the most challenging part is being involved in what you already are, and yet, you know, taking on the mission forward. So this is an inspiration, is an example. So we're all proud of you, Mataji, and thank you very much for coming
Thank
on
you
the
so
call.
much, Dupanta. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very
Another
much. If I may
Prabhu?
share, Mataji.
Please.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much, Anandini, Mataji. It was very inspirational. It's certainly your voice and your demeanor exudes the love of Krishna. That was something that you mentioned, which I think that is critical for me when you talk about the ego and just giving so much importance to the ego. And what I was thinking and the reflection is that if when we love the ego more than Krishna, we're not letting Krishna work in our lives. And sometimes that's where that hopelessness and helplessness comes, because Krishna is not there to guide us and just to help us, you know, to navigate through this world. So my resolution as dealing with life is just to make sure that I can put that ego aside and just let Krishna to work into my life, because obviously through trials or tribulations, always Krishna is victorious. So if I am walking with him and I am listening to him, regardless of the circumstances, like with Arjun, the battle is already won. So thank you so much for this wonderful message and the inspiration.
Thank you so much. You got such good points every time. I heard you only twice in my life, but I already think like, wow, you have some treasure in there that you should also share with others. Thank you very much. Very good points. Hare Krishna. Anybody else would like to share, please? I will be very grateful. I see Krishna Varna Mataji, but we can't hear you. You're muted. You just want to say hi. Hare Krishna.
To say hi, I have been hearing you through the class. Thank you so much. You're very smart.
Oh, Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for encouragement. And I appreciate you saying hi. Personalism with devotees like this is very encouraging. That's why I actually like to speak, even though I might not have extensive knowledge of the shlokas. For example, my husband, he's very, very knowledgeable, and I just love hearing his classes. But I can't do that. I can't just remember those verses that I've read, and I just can't quote them on place. But I'm still trying, because that's how you connect with Krishna more. If you start to expand your relationship with devotees and not be afraid to show maybe even some vulnerability or difficulties that you have in your spiritual life and share, it really helps to connect. And so right now, this is our best way, right? We can't hug, we can't feed each other prasadam with our own hand, but at least we can hear and appreciate each other. So thank you. Okay, so if anyone else, please speak, or we shall just go for prasadam.
Prabhu, anything on the Facebook?
No, that's all. No, nothing much. I had one Shama Mataji's comment which I already read out. So yeah.
Okay. Well, we can end here. Again, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I'd love to connect with you more. We actually visit Florida sometimes with my husband, but I've never been to the temple in Orlando. And I guess next time I go, then I have some friends there. I'll be happy to
Haribo,
see
yes.
many of you. Yes, and again, thank you so much. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai.
Thank you so much,
All
Mataji.
our, thank you
Please,
so
please
much.
do come again. Please do come again with a different topic, because you're not just philosophy. You also have a background where you can deal with the people's, psychology and everything. That
A little
helps.
bit.
Whatever you can.
Sure. Just let me know what topic is interesting for community. There is some specific things that need to be addressed or discussed, or there's some focus in the community or certain, issues or aspects, and I'll be so happy to share what I have. But for now, I'm so happy to see you. All glories to the assembled devotees, and Hare Krishna.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Jai Srila Prabhupada.